Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the massive logistical transition to electric vehicles. Specifically, we're looking at how huge infrastructure projects are actively solving what's basically the ultimate villain of the EV transition, range anxiety. It's this totally fascinating story of hardcore engineering, scaling up, and literally reinventing how we power our lives on the move. Let's get into it. Here's our quick roadmap for today. First, overcoming EV range anxiety. Second, building the charging network. Third, emergency roadside EV rescue. Fourth, the tech behind mobile charging. And finally, number 5, the zero-emission future. Okay, Section 1, Overcoming EV range anxiety, a 120-year journey. So I'm sure many of you know exactly what I'm talking about here. Have you ever experienced true range anxiety? It's that sinking, incredibly stressful feeling of just watching your battery gauge drop on a long trip, wondering, am I actually going to make it to the next plug? It's arguably the single biggest psychological barrier stopping people from making the switch to electric. But what's really wild is that while the technology has totally transformed, this specific human anxiety, it's been around for over a century. And this timeline brilliantly illustrates that for 120 years, organizations like the REA have been solving this exact same fear. Look back at 1903. The solution was literally delivering physical petrol cans to stranded early motorists, people stuck in their Model Ts on dirt roads. Fast forward to 2023 and 2024, and the modern equivalent of that petrol can is the deployment of ultra-rapid chargers and permanent mobile EV rescue vans across a huge border-to-border network in South Australia. The vehicles? Completely different. The mission to keep us moving with confidence? Exactly the same. Moving right along, Section 2. Building the charging network, scaling up to meet demand. With electric vehicle sales absolutely soaring right now, literally doubling year over year in places like South Australia, the infrastructure just has to scale up at an unprecedented pace to keep these cars moving. You can't just put a ton of cars on the road without a robust network to support them, right? Regional trips are powering record growth in EV driving, and that means the network has to stretch way, way beyond city limits to actually be effective. So, the really crucial point here is the speed of construction. To keep up with this massive surge in demand, at one point the RAA broke ground on 35 new charging sites in just a single month. 35! Just imagine the logistics of that for a second. Securing the land, hooking up to power grids, and deploying engineering teams across vast regional areas all at once. It's a massive, coordinated injection of resources, all aimed at squashing that range anxiety we just talked about. And well, those efforts are definitely paying off. By deploying these rapid 150 kilowatt and ultra-rapid chargers, they've actually brought this border-to-border network to over 90% completion. This isn't just, slapping a plug in the dirt. It's about effectively mapping a secure net zero journey across an entire state. So no matter where you're driving, from the Florier all the way to the far north, you're fully supported by high-speed charging. All right, Section 3, Emergency Roadside EV Rescue, when the charge runs out. So, even with a massive, statewide network, we still have to ask the inevitable question: what happens when a driver still runs out of charge? This is where we bridge the gap between the macro and the micro. On the one hand, you've got a permanent charging station, right? It's got a massive footprint, it's stuck in one fixed location, and sure, it offers ultra-rapid, multi-vehicle capacity. But if your battery dies 10 miles down the road from it, it really doesn't do you any good. And that is exactly where the Emergency Mobile Rescue Unit steps in. It's got a super compact 60 kilowatt footprint, it's completely portable, and amazingly, the entire shebang fits right into the back of a standard roadside service van. And hey, this isn't just some sci-fi concept. After a really successful 6-month trial out on the actual roads, sending out these emergency EV charging vans has officially become a permanent roadside service for stranded drivers. If you're someone who's hesitated to buy an EV purely because you're terrified of getting stuck on the side of a highway, knowing that a mobile rescue unit can literally just drive up to you and juice you up enough to reach the next station, that's a total game changer. Next up, Section 4, Tech behind mobile charging, high power, small footprint. Now, to make this mobile rescue thing a reality, engineers had to crack a huge technical challenge. How do you shrink a giant fast charger down into a portable package? The secret ingredient to this engineering marvel is silicon carbide MOSFETs. Okay, I know, that sounds like a bunch of dense technical jargon, but it basically just means the internal semiconductor components can handle intense, continuous power without, melting down. See, traditional silicon components generate way too much heat, and they need these bulky cooling systems. But by swapping to silicon carbide, engineers can drastically shrink the size and weight of the charger, making it light enough to actually be portable. And this brings us to a frankly staggering figure. By using this ultra-high-density tech in their 30-kilowatt power modules, the Mida portable chargers achieve a 96% peak efficiency. Now, in the world of power electronics, 96% efficiency is absolutely massive. It essentially means almost all of the energy is going straight into the stranded vehicle's battery, and practically nothing is being wasted as heat. Because it's just so remarkably efficient, this setup allows a whopping 60 kilowatts of continuous charging power to be safely delivered right out of the back of a standard two-person service van. And get this, it can do this even on the absolutely hottest summer days, without the system overheating. When you stop and realize that a 60 kilowatt charge can give a stranded EV enough range in just a few minutes to get to a permanent rapid charger, you realize what an absolute feat of modern engineering this truly is. And that brings us to Section 5, the zero-emission future, a collaborative push for net zero. So zooming out for a second from all that micro-engineering, defeating range anxiety and actually building this future requires some deep, wide-ranging collaboration. We're seeing this right now through things like the SA0 partnership, which is uniting government entities and private businesses to basically put the pedal to the metal on the net zero journey. And it isn't just about passenger cars either. As we expand these ultra-rapid networks and perfect the mobile charging tech, we're laying the foundation for integrating zero-emission urban freight and delivery logistics right into our cities. We're talking everything from massive commercial trucks to those local delivery vans. This whole infrastructure acts as the backbone for a completely sustainable mobility ecosystem. As these permanent chargers just keep multiplying across state borders, and as these mobile rescue vans confidently hit the streets to back them up, the era of range anxiety is, well, it's pretty rapidly coming to an end. Which leaves us with one really fascinating thought to take away. As these barriers continue to fall, how will this zero-emission revolution transform the way your own community, your own neighborhood, moves in the next 10 years? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it gave you a clear picture of the incredible infrastructure that is powering our electric future.